I want to bring in now Democratic Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congresswoman, great to see you.
Thank you for having me here today, Frederica.
So your reaction to this shift in policy?
So this is a shift in policy, and Russia has unleashed a barrage of missiles on Ukraine. You know, we have been their ally for a very, very long time. We want to stay with them, and we want to make sure that Russia's aggression is checked. So this is a policy that was necessary. As always, we don't want to escalate, but Ukraine's our partner. We have to stand with them, and they have to be able to defend themselves.
And is it your belief that this will now allow Ukraine to better defend itself and hold territory?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the desired outcome. But I also want to point something out, too. President-elect Trump has said that he could end this war easily. What he's not sharing is that ending the war in his terms means letting Russia do whatever they want. And that cannot happen. And so we know what's at risk here. I think President Biden did make the right call, and we're going to stand with Ukraine.
Is it your understanding that these missiles are already either in country in Ukraine or near, or what would be the process of how and when they would receive these long-range missiles in order to use them?
So I don't have details on that.
Okay. What is your hope? The Biden administration only has under 2 months to go. Is it your expectation that this is going to happen with some expediency in a matter of days, weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen with expediency. We have only a few months left in the Biden administration. Ukraine is under assault, so we will get them what they need as soon as possible.
As you see a change in this policy under the Biden administration, it does put a kind of new spotlight on the Defense Department and what is likely to happen next. What would you like to see from the person who would ultimately be leading the Defense Department as Secretary?
No, thank you very much for that question. So obviously, there's a lot happening in the world, and we need someone who's going to lead the Defense Department to do it objectively, to stand with our allies, and to make sure that the U.S. is doing what we can to support them. The person that they've appointed has already raised questions with senators. And I often say that if someone is announced as a potential nominee and people are already raising questions about them, it makes you wonder if that was the best pick. And that has happened both with the defense nominee, with Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General, and even Robert Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of HHS.
So to zero in on the person named as potential defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, former Fox News host. He's been accused in a sexual assault incident in 2017. His attorney is now saying that Hegseth, paid money to his accuser but denies sexual assault. Is this accusation disqualifying for a potential defense secretary, or does there need to be more beyond the accusation?
So, I mean, obviously an accusation is incredibly unhelpful, and it speaks to their ethics and who they are as a person. And I also want to point out, too, having worked for Fox News as well, they aren't exactly the example of objectivity. And when you have a job like Secretary of Defense, your job obviously is to work for your president, but you have to provide objective professional advice. And what I worry about with these nominees, Frederica, is that you have people who are there, they're going to bend the knee, and they're not going to be objective enough to do what is best for this country and our allies.
So what's your concern now when there are discussions about recessed appointments, that there is an avenue, a potential opportunity in which the president-elect, as president, would be able to get some of his nominees through the process seated without Senate confirmation?
Well, it makes you ask the question, what is it about your nominees that makes you have to skirt a formal process that has been in place since the beginning of time? And so if you're trying to break the rules and bend the rule to try and slip people in, it makes you wonder about the Senate confirmation process and if they would even be able to stand muster.
Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland, thank you so much. Glad to have you today.
Great. Thanks for having me here, Frederica.